I want you to see how fragile you are. So, how do you choose to continue your earth journey? Within faith or out of faith? And faith is not weakness. Faith is grounding yourself and understanding that you're not walking alone. So, reconciliation, from my perspective, it's not transactional. We talk about getting to God and getting to Christ and believing in, oh, one doctrine, and God is within this room, and this is where God belongs, and I own God, and that color people don't own God, and that culture doesn't own God, and nobody talks about the heart anymore. Reconciliation is not transactional, it is internal, it's the most personal journey you'll ever take. So, it is the soul remembering its source. Now, anyone else here who knows me, remember how I describe God. And the reason why I describe God in this way is because it's the only way I can think of it. And it's what grounded me enough to surrender everything to God. And anyone else who's never heard this, just check me for a minute. I want you to imagine yourself going out into the biggest ocean you can think of, the widest, grandest ocean, biggest thing you've ever seen, and it never stops. It's just this ocean as far as you can see, 360 degrees. This is the ocean. This is the consciousness of God. I want you to visualize this love of God is simply asking you to step into that ocean, as grand as it is, and your surrender is just lying down backwards into that ocean. I want you to close your eyes if it's safe and just feel into this for a moment. Lie back, and the waves are coming. They're so huge, it's like a tsunami is coming. However, you do not flinch. This is faith. You surrender. Because when you surrender to this ocean, it knows exactly where you're going. It already knew that those big waves are coming. It already knew that the storm was coming. It already knew all these things that you were going to experience. But what it requires is for you to get into this surrender state where you let go of all the attachment that this physical world has taught you and trust. So, all the fear and shame and unworthiness and separation, Jesus came to dissolve all of that. He did not come to change God's mind about humanity. Jesus did not do this. I will stand on this until I go again. Jesus came to change humanity's mind about God. I don't need to go any further in all these things that I just said. I wanted to explain that to somebody who is asking this question right now, because I honestly believe that it's not that we overdo things, but we just don't understand enough what love really means. It's a surrender. And for those of you who've never heard me say this, there's a moment of time when this was asked. What does trust feel like? Somebody in our community asked this question. And I was there planning on how I was going to answer it. And I started to coin it in my human words because, well, my mind likes to think I know everything, right? And I remember in that moment, I was breathed again. And when I say I was breathed, just understand that something else just took over me that was pure love. And the words that were coming out of my mouth wasn't mine. And I remember I said, this is what I received. Trust is your breath. And I thought to myself, nope. How am I going to explain trust is your breath, right? And the message I received was this. Between the in-breath and the out-breath is life and death. You trust it. Beyond a reasonable doubt, you trust it with all your being. Why? Because you've never been made to doubt it. There is never a notation on your bed or on your pillow when you wake in the morning to say, hey, today you only have 2,222 breaths to take. For those of you who have heard me say this before, I want you to acknowledge that. I'm going to say it more often because I want people to understand this. And it's the first time in all the years I've been alive, I realized, oh my gosh, it really is a trust. It is a divine trust between the in-breath and the out-breath. And the angel said, that is trust. And if you can trust that breath between life and death, that gives that to you every single day of your life. And they went one step further. The angel said, you also practice to sleep. And I thought that's what I heard. But when I tuned into it, you practice to die every night. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I don't practice to die every night. And this beautiful angel said, yes, you do. Before you go to sleep, I want all of you to really look into this. There is a surrender moment before your eyes close and your conscious awareness of this physical world ceases to exist. That is actually the death process. When you die, even if the organs within you are still moving and there's still a little bit of blood pumping, as soon as your breath leaves this physical body, your conscious awareness of this physical space, which is so limited, ceases to exist. And your conscious awareness of your spiritual state, which is you as spirit, expands. And I remember I said, this is from Mother Mary, now that I'm thinking about it. And I remember this beautiful lesson says, well, what does practicing to die teach you? I didn't know what to say. It teaches you that you don't cease to exist. It teaches you that you expand, does it not? Do you not find yourself in other dimensions and expanding yourself doing things that this physical body is limited to do? You practice to die every night and you trust beyond a reasonable doubt that I'll awake in the morning, and even if I don't, I will expand. And I remember Mother Mary said, so let's equate this. You have 12 to 18 hours in every day. The only thing you have is that, just a day. So I'm alive now 45 years. I don't need to be conscious of 45 years or another 10 years. I just need to be conscious of today, right now. So I have, let's say, 12 to 18 hours, because between the in-breath and the out-breath, that God, this source of love that cannot be contained in a room to any one person, because God gave that to every one of you, atheists, Mormon, Christian, all the other faith. You can mention them, type them in, right? And I want to know if any of you have ever thought of this before, like, have any of you stop for a moment and think to yourself, who makes me breathe? Huh? Has any of you ever asked that? Nobody here has? Nobody here has? Breath of life. Somebody type in breath of life. Because I have never really stopped to think about that until I heard this. And she says, if you only have 12 to 18 hours in a day to focus on, how is it that you cannot find joy in that 12 to 18 hours? How is you ask what trust feels like in that 12 to 18 hours? How is it that you cannot find love in yourself between that 12 to 18 hours? We've taken away the challenging parts. We give you breath of life and we practice you to die to make sure we remind you every 12 to 18 hours a day that it's okay as I express myself in this world right now, because God is ordering my steps and there is an assignment that I'm here to do, and I'm supposed to explore and expand. And you know what blows my mind even more? This particle of love that never ends decided at some point I will splinter up. So there are two expressions of myself. And there's a story, Adam and Eve, and everybody have these stories, that's fine. But do you see how beautiful it is now? Now we are 8 billion strong as expressions of source love. And we can't even stand the look of each other. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, beautiful. This is even beautiful. We have pure life and we have Poland spring water. This is an expression of two human beings. Pure life, Poland spring. Within both of these bottles of water is the consciousness of God. We're labeled differently. It's the same source love that runs through us. Pure life can decide, I'm going to convolute the daylights out of things, and as I express myself in this world, I'm just going to add mud and muck and fear and hate and bloodthirst. But the baseline, the core, the root of pure life is source love. So this is why the scripture says, and many people will say, the same man who can do bad can also turn and do good by the grace of God. Which God? This, who you are at the core. So how could you listen to anyone else who can tell you that you're any less, that I don't deserve the grace of God like them, that I can't intercede and pray for somebody and see spontaneous healing?